Welcome to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to say that these Nintendo Switch 2 rumors are the real deal.
Yeah, we've seen them around for a while. Switch 2 rumors, rumor news. I mean, it's basically a cottage industry at this point. They've exploded, though, in the last couple of days. We got supposed final console renders, we got leaked third-party cases, and that has led to a flood of speculation about when we'll see the console, what it'll have, and a whole bunch of other goodies.
And we're willing to vouch for these because at long last, the leaks are starting to line up with what Nintendo themselves have actually said. And also what just kind of makes sense for how they've run their business.
Absolutely. And there's a lot more to talk about than somebody referencing their uncle at Nintendo and throwing a date out of nowhere. One of the most significant Switch 2 leaks has surfaced, allegedly from a user that claims to have seen the console themselves.
Oh my gosh.
And they live to tell the tale, Bruce.
Over the weekend, a Reddit user named Next Handheld posted on the Nintendo Switch 2 subreddit, claiming that they had recently got their hands on the final release Switch 2 and its dock. While the user reportedly provided evidence to the subreddit's moderation team, they didn't make this proof public. So, as always, take this with a grain of salt.
This is kind of what we've been waiting for. Like grainy videos from a production line, that's when you know the real Switch is coming. So let's get into what they said. Next Handheld claimed that Nintendo plans to announce the new console in January of next year, so pretty soon, and that it will officially be called, wait for it, the Switch 2.
Oh, I was hoping it would be the Super Switch. I like that Super Switch.
Switch U.
Switch U. The leaker also noted that the logo will feature a prominent 2 in a move to distinguish it from the current Switch and avoid confusion similar to the Wii U era, which, by the way, I hated.
No one liked that. People with money to spend, most of all. Yeah, the content creator and streamer Nintentalk also said that the Switch will be announced next month, posting on X, quote, Nintendo 2 reveals Switch 2 in January. This is coming from a major third-party developer contact I have. Here's what they say about the console. Get ready to play modern AAA offerings on your Nintendo system in 2025. I feel like it's been 20 years since that's been a thing. We'll see.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. So this definitely seems to be a reference to the beefier hardware inside the Nintendo Switch 2.
Also, I think the flattening of technical requirements for games, you know? We've been hearing rumors for years about a new Switch, mostly because we've all wanted one for years. The Switch will celebrate its 8th birthday in less than 3 months. It has been a runaway bestseller with more than 146 million units sold, and that puts it within striking distance, maybe a little short, of the all-time champ, the PlayStation 2, which may also have influenced why they named it that.
Oh yeah, that's true. In terms of features, Next Handheld repeated an existing rumor that the Switch 2 will replace the current sliding rail system with magnetically attached Joy-Cons. Yeah, that's huge. That's finally. They also claim that the physical game cartridges will look identical to those used by the OG Switch.
Yeah. Man, I got a lot to say about those fucking Joy-Con rails. We'll get to that, though. The report also claims that the Switch 2 will feature an LCD screen, which could disappoint a lot of people that are really attached to the OLED screens that the newer Switch models have used. Definitely a visual downgrade there, but, you know, maybe it'll make the console cheaper in the long run. Additionally, the console is said to have larger sticks, buttons, and triggers compared to the current model, which were quite small in that Joy-Con. The dock included with the Switch 2 reportedly retains all the ports from the OLED model and has a new curved design, allowing more of the Switch 2's screen to remain visible while it's docked, which is pretty cute. You can see like a little clock, Nintendo mascot characters. They could even show you some ads while it's just docked there. Think about it.
Oh no. Don't talk. Stop it. All in all, the next Switch will be very similar to the old one, and given the success of the Switch, makes sense that Nintendo isn't going to tinker with its design too much because it's one of the all-time best-selling consoles.
It makes sense, but when has Nintendo ever made sense? That was always kind of the lingering question, right? Is Nintendo going to go wacky and invent a console that's just like 2 gloves you stick your hands inside? No, just an upgraded Switch, praise God. Next Handheld also had another spicy nugget for us, saying that the Switch 2 will likely launch alongside the long-awaited Mario Kart 9. Makes a lot of sense too. They suggested there may also be a special edition of the console themed around that game.
Yeah, which they love doing. Considering that the last mainline Mario Kart game debuted more than 10 years ago. Mario Kart 8 is 10 years old? Holy hell. A new installment could make a big splash with the new console, obviously, because everyone loves Mario Kart.
I mean, Mario Kart 8 is one of their top-selling games of all time ever. Meanwhile, it looks like the actual design itself of the Switch 2 has leaked. Again, accessory maker Dbrand has unveiled a page for its upcoming Switch 2 Kill Switch case. Very aggressive name.
The page includes an animation that appears to show the console itself featuring the curved Joy-Cons, the extra buttons, of course matching the previous leaks we just reported on.
The brand CEO Adam Ejaz later confirmed to Insider Gaming that the case is designed for the actual Switch 2.
Okay. The YouTuber SwitchUp also posted a video of a 3D printed non-functional device that it received from a Switch 2 case manufacturer in China. So basically it's just a way to simulate the Switch 2 without actually having one.
Just because they have the dimensions of the chassis, yeah. Based on the video, which compared the new console to the Switch OLED, the Switch 2 appears to be a bit larger than the Switch OLED, but with more rounded corners.
Yeah, we should also stress that none of this has actually been officially verified. Last month, Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa announced that the upcoming console, whatever it's called, we don't even have an official name yet, will be backwards compatible. So we know there's a new console coming. It's going to be backwards compatible, but we don't know the name. We don't know what it's going to do, all this other stuff.
Yeah, but even saying that nailed down a couple things, which that it has to have the same form factor and input method as an original Switch somewhere. Nintendo does like to bury their backwards compatibility pretty deep, but if it has a baseline functional compatibility, then it will be somewhat like a Switch at some point. And now we know it's just going to be a pretty upgraded Switch, which is awesome. I think that's what everybody was asking for.
Yeah, industry research firm DFC Intelligence predicts the console will sell 15 to 17 million units next year and surpass 80 million in sales by 2028, maintaining its lead in the console market, while it claims that Sony and Microsoft will face challenges gaining market share with their next-gen system. So Nintendo, what is it, the Blue Ocean Theory, right? Nintendo has always been doing the Blue Ocean Theory, and they will continue competing in a market of their own.
Which is weird, though, now, because if the Switch 2 supports contemporary AAA games, then suddenly, even though they've carved out their own market for themselves, and they've carved out customers that'll... I mean, I bought multiple Switches over the course of the generation, so it makes sense that their sales are so high, but now are they going to directly compete with Sony and Microsoft for games, for exclusives? They don't really tend to play those games, unpartially intended.
No, they never do. That's something that they're all their console exclusives are Nintendo properties, right? So then they'll rely on those like they always do to sell systems, and it always works for them. It really does. I think the Nintendo Switch 2 currently, I think, is following the model of the DS and the 3DS, the way they released those consoles. So if you look back to the history of the DS and kind of see what they did with that, I think you'll see the pattern of the Switch 2 and the way they're releasing it.
Absolutely, and that worked really, really well for them. So they're really just kind of applying their handheld business model to an air quotes console model. Although now handhelds are good enough to run AAA games, Steam Deck and whatnot. So really interesting to see Nintendo in this space. Kind of, they're getting more and more alongside hardware manufacturers, but still carving out their own environment, which is nice. Speaking of carving, I am really happy to hear about these magnets on the Joy-Cons. I've had multiple Switches that I've had to dismantle because the rail gets wobbly, and then the contacts between the Joy-Con and the Switch unit get really finicky. And then I'll be like, I've been playing on an airplane, and unless I kind of flex it back a little bit, it just thinks the Joy-Con gets disconnected. The game pauses. The Joy-Cons themselves stop charging. So yeah, a lot of the physical aspects of the original Switch started dying about 2 years in. Sticks included. I'm pretty sure I saw part of the rumors were that the new Joy-Cons would have Hall effect sticks instead of more traditional analog sticks, which should give many more hours before joystick drift or any kind of input problems. The only thing I'm worrying about, though, is if a kid is holding a Switch 2 by the Joy-Con and slinging it around, if those magnets come loose, it's just going to send this ballistic Switch 2 across the house, bashing up its screen or whatever. Nintendo, I'm sure, has thought of that, and these must be pretty powerful magnets, but it's just, it's got me wondering. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Bruce? Oh,
that's going to for sure happen. I mean, it happened with the Switch when it first came out, and everybody was flinging those Joy-Cons across the room. I mean, I feel like that's a hazard. And Nintendo can only do so much, and they do that on purpose, I think. Like, it's like with Joy-Con Drift, where they knew that it was going to Joy-Con Drift, but then people have to buy new stuff. So, like, Nintendo's sort of like, hey, you know what? If you screw it up, well, you got to buy another one. It's like, they know what they're doing, and that's okay. It's not, you know, again, just everybody just be really careful with your Switch 2. There's one other rumor that I have seen floating around the internet for a while that we didn't put in the story, which is supposedly, Lawrence, when this thing gets released, which should be like around March or April of next year, they're gonna have so many Switch 2s that there won't be any scalping, right? That's what people keep saying. They're delaying this because Nintendo's making so many of these that they don't want any scalpers. They're trying to avoid all of that. They're trying to avoid the whole PS5 fiasco, which is great. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but hopefully we can just walk into Target and buy a Switch 2 right off the shelf.
That's the reason I assume they went with LCD screens over OLED, is because they could get way more of them and at a more reliable price. We'll see. We'll hope. I don't know how many people are going to be compelled to upgrade right away. You know, how many people in the massive Switch audience. It depends what kind of sales pitch Nintendo comes out with or what kind of new features, but Mario Kart's a big one. I was just looking this up. Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe combined it's the 5th best-selling game of all time.
That's crazy.
All time. It beat Red Dead Redemption 2. And granted, they've been selling it for 10 years straight now, but I mean, come on. It beat Witcher 3. This is Nintendo's best-selling game of all time, unless you count Wii Sports, which was a Wii pack-in, and the Wii was a phenomenon. So there's kind of weird there, but it makes a lot of sense that Mario Kart 9 would be their launch title because it is far and away their highest-selling game. I'm curious how much further behind that Animal Crossing might be, because that was their second highest-selling game on the Switch. It's kind of interesting that I think old heads, we kind of associate the more core franchises, Metroid and Zelda, with Nintendo, but boy, they lead with their heavy hitters when they're launching new platforms, which also makes me think what you said about them having a lot of stock is also true. I'm going to guess if Nintendo went to market with Switch 2, anyone that wanted to buy a Switch and didn't get one is a lost sale, but it's also a lost potential Nintendo Online subscriber. It's a lost 15 games sold over the next 10 years or so. So I think, and also since Nintendo's been burned by generational transitions before, from the Wii to Wii U, I think they want to make absolutely sure that every single person who wants a Switch 2 gets one and logs into their account and buys some games, so that they don't hit this road bump again. And certainly I think to their investors are probably a little worried about this moment of transition. We've had this incredibly long, incredibly successful period. Are we teeing up for another one, or is this when they fumble the ball? So I think Nintendo has a lot to prove, not only to themselves, but their investors, and a lot of ground to gain with their customers by making sure that everyone can buy 1 or 2 or 5. The timing also makes sense. This was the last holiday for the original Switch, and I think they wanted to squeeze whatever they could out of it with not a bad lineup. They had a new Zelda, they had Mario and Luigi, they had the leftovers, I guess. But man, yeah, Switch 2, who knows how much software they've been holding up for that, and that's what I'm kind of curious about. Mario Kart 9 is a very smart prediction. I think Metroid Prime 4 is probably likely to be a launch title, and that might be their like technical showcase of here's a first-person shooter that has like cool lighting effects and it can run in 4K. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of what we were alluding to at the beginning of the episode, is that a lot of this stuff is starting to click in terms of the timing, the strategy, the pricing, the availability. So I'm excited. We waited almost a decade for a new Nintendo console. Are you excited, Bruce? You ready?
I am really excited. And I wanted to say, Lawrence, nice Nintendo Switch pun when you said all those things are starting to click.
Is it going to be like a click click? Like tch?
Yes, absolutely. Or maybe it'll be the old sound from the trailer, but then it'll be like a double click or some, like where they show the magnets attach or whatever. I don't know. Nintendo, I really think Nintendo's getting so good at business. Like they're like refining and refining and refining. I don't know, it's kind of amazing. Honestly, it's fun to watch a company get almost perfect at this point. So I'll be really surprised if they fumble the Switch 2 release. I really will, because it seems to me like they are right on track to release a banger console that everyone's going to buy and that everyone can get. Hey, this is the most idealistic version of the release, but I hope that's what happens.
Yeah, me too. It'll be interesting to see over the Switch 2's life cycle, now that we are getting more hybrid devices, mobile PCs that can also be gaming PCs. I'm curious if those markets will fight at all, or if there will be cross-pollination, or if people will have both. I'm going to have both, because I'm an enthusiast and I love spending money on trinkets, but I do wonder where that conversation's going to go.
I think when it comes to Nintendo, you have to have both. I think you're talking about Steam Deck and then Nintendo Switch, and the reason is because of the Nintendo games. The Mario Karts, the Zeldas, the Marios, you can't get those on Steam Deck, so that's the way you have to do it. You have to play it, and that's what Nintendo banks on. So it's going to work. It really is. We want to thank all the patrons that support the Inside Games Patreon every single month. You're all our own personal uncle that works at Nintendo. Brandon Young, Matt Bogenberger, Wesley Mullins, Cash Putnam, Just Chair, UESC Battleroy, Jay Embers, and Christian Morgan Anderson.
Well, I've got some more patrons to thank here. I'm incredibly grateful for all the support we receive. Hey, forget the Switch 2. These uncles all work at Nintendo too. Oh yeah. Kyle Heaton, Brian Cosner, Sherwin Sanchez, Alex Stone, John Warren Gallardi, Blunt Smoking Anus Destroyer, Monkey Butlers, and Daniel Higgins. Thank you all very much for the support.